I'd like to talk about Jesus. I am a priest in the Christian church, someone who grew up in Christianity, so the person of Jesus, the presence of Jesus, the experience of Jesus is well known. Part of my story itself, part of it is almost too well known. How, though, do I experience this person, the presence of God in Jesus Christ? There is the historical person of Jesus who lived and died in Palestine and over 2,000 years ago, who was crucified and died and rose again and appeared to his followers, and in a sense appeared to people ever since. How do I, 2,000 years later, I've never met Jesus personally. He has not appeared to me in bodily form. I've had dreams, though, that where I have felt that it was the presence of God in a form that has surprised me. I've had guided meditations that have helped lead me. Most of all, there is the scriptures, the stories of Jesus that have inspired me, sparked me, challenged me. And in these stories, they're wonderful teachings. But at the core of my experience of Jesus is a relationship. And it is the person of Jesus that allows me to have a relationship with God that is not just the concept of power, light, understanding, something greater than myself, but a very direct, engaged, and personal dynamic. The person of Jesus allows the experience of God to be part of my story. I can engage more with someone who has been a person that has lived this world, understands this world. And that opens me up for an experience of God that is not just an engagement with a concept or an idea. I spend much time in prayer and praying to Jesus. What does that mean? Is that simply talking to myself, thinking thoughts, me being alone here oftentimes in the church? You could look at it that way in some ways, but for me there's more than that. It's putting my ideas, thoughts, concerns out of myself and into the larger concept of God, but with the person of Jesus. It opens the door for a relationship. And I think that the element of relationship is at the key part of this encounter with God. Everything is in relationship with everything, whether it be gravity, whether it be forces of nature and pushing and moving, and the light hitting the soil, water. The relationship that we have with all the elements, and most of all with each other, is where I come to know and have some dynamic relationship with God. And having this person, this encounter, this historical figure of Jesus, but also this God who came as Jesus and can appear in any way, can do what God wants to do, opens me up to have a discussion, a dialogue with a God that I believe hears what's being said. And that belief that God is hearing me opens me up that if I am heard, what does that mean? What is the response of God? I know for me personally that what's most important in my life is my relationships with my wife and children and family and friends. This is crucial to me. So too, at the core of my relationship with God, helps me to understand that I am part of something much larger. And it is not just my own tribal understanding of my family, but that my life is part of the stories of life that have been part of all of life. And the prayers that I have are not just isolated alone, talking to myself in my head, but in fact, part of something much larger. It is easy to think as I sit here alone by myself in the church that I'm just thinking these thoughts alone. But I am in the midst of the light that is around me, the air. And in this, I'm never alone. I'm always in relationship. And the encounter and dynamic of offering prayers to God connects me to all of the elements and opens me up to think beyond my own limited thoughts, to realize there might be some other angles. And in reading the stories that others have had, and I'm somebody who reads many devotional booklets of other people's faith, of what they've learned over the years, helps me to discern what I'm going through and saying, yes, others have gone through this too. The struggle with patience, the struggle with identity, the struggle with understanding suffering or pain or hurts. All of these things are part of the human drama. Letting go, allowing myself to be transformed and changed, to find the strength to follow through and persevere. By letting go and in my prayers, sharing these ideas, reflections, reading these thoughts, I find myself engaged with a God that is not just a concept, not just powers beyond my understanding, but somehow a force that is in relationship with me and with my world of today. It is important for me that I have this encounter with God that is not just an idea that I can leave, but as a relationship, it is always present with me. Just as I am married and I'm always married wherever I go, and I'm always a father, and these are just parts of my identity, so too, the relationship with God is part of my identity. So too is this relationship with Jesus, the presence of God that is continually trying to find a way to break into my life, my story, to take my story and move it into a larger story. Part of Christianity, the incarnation of God, that God became human, it always opens a door that there might be an epiphany, an aha, a way in which we can think differently. It is not just if I do the right things, but a relationship almost mandates an openness to seeing people as they evolve, as they grow. As a father, I'm not the same father I was when my children are very young. As a husband, I've evolved over the years, I hope. And in my relationship to God, I have found that what I preached 30 years ago is probably a little bit different than what I'm preaching now. And I hope deeper, but that my life is being transformed and opened. Somehow brought to a deeper place. That in this prayer and in the discussion and walking with Jesus, being present with that which is unseen and yet known within. And also being open to how it might be seen in the world around me, whether it's through the birds, animals, people I meet, that there might be God speaking to me, or in my dreams, circumstances of God opening doors that I could not imagine. There is the historic person of Jesus, but there's also the dynamic power of God that is carried on with a Jesus of a timeless dimension, a Jesus present when I pray, of a God that opens up to be with me and to help me understand that my life is a part of something much larger. I may not have much influence or effect on the world around me, but that's not my point. That's not my purpose. My purpose is to be in relationship with God, in this experience of God with Jesus. And that transforms and allows me to deepen my relationships with everyone I know, to see them with more compassion, empathy, to be surprised. Yeah. Thank you for listening to my reflections and thoughts on my experience of Jesus. What is yours? How do you experience Jesus in your life? May you be blessed. And all those whom you love, may they be surprised by God's blessings and held in God's arms. And the person of Jesus somehow surprise you. Thank you.